Hi, Scope readers. This is Kristen, editor of Scope. In this issue, I wrote the narrative nonfiction feature, Betrayed by America. It's a story about an 11-year-old boy named Bill Hiroshi Shishima, who lived through a dark chapter of American history. In 1941, the U.S. government imprisoned nearly 120,000 Japanese Americans, including Bill and his family. These men, women, and children had not broken any laws. They had done nothing wrong. But it was World War II. The U.S. was at war with Japan. Fear swept across America. And Japanese Americans were viewed with suspicion, prejudice, and even hatred. All because they happened to look like the people we were at war with. Writing the story was a challenge that required an enormous amount of research. Luckily, I had help. My research partner, Adi Braun. We watched documentaries and pored over interview transcripts and photographs. We read articles and books. And we talked to experts at the Densho organization, which preserves the stories of Japanese Americans who lived through internment. But we needed to go deeper. We also needed to learn about what was going on in the world during the 1930s and 1940s. We learned that in the years leading up to World War II, the relationship between the US and Japan was hostile. Japan had ambitious goals of expanding its territory in East Asia. They began brutally attacking China. Meanwhile, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi troops were invading the countries of Europe. Then, in 1940, Japan and Germany became allies. And on December 7th, 1941, Japan launched a massive surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, a U.S. military base in Hawaii.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Over 2,300 Americans were killed. This horrific attack changed America forever. Soon after, America entered World War II.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
In the U.S., prejudice against Japanese Americans grew after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And so the government decided that Japanese Americans posed a threat to national security. The government removed 120,000 Japanese Americans from the West Coast and sent them to live in internment camps in remote parts of the country. These camps were basically prisons. Families crammed into small rooms that did little to keep out summer heat or winter chill. Life was monotonous and lonely. You were cut off from everything for years. Whatever life you had known before internment had been taken from you. My research was done, and I was ready to start writing. Once I finished my first draft, I went back and rewrote a few sections. Then I shared my story with colleagues who each gave me important feedback. In total, I wrote 9 drafts of the story before I was satisfied. But wait, I still wasn't done. I sent my article off to our talented designer, Albert Amigo, who turned this into this. At the same time, I sent my story to Mackenzie Caro and Allison Friedman for fact-checking. This is a crucial step in an article's journey to publication. With maniacal precision, they checked name spellings, dates, details, photo captions, everything, to make sure it was accurate. And guess what? I had made a mistake. Bill and his family were interned at Heart Mountain in Wyoming. In an early draft, I wrote that there was a roll call there. When Allison called the Heart Mountain Interpretive Center to confirm some details of my article, she learned that while some internment camps did have roll call, Heart Mountain did not. Great catch, Allison. Writing the story brought up a lot of emotions for me, and it might bring up a lot of emotions for you too. I was angry and ashamed that something like this could have happened in the US, and not that long ago. But Bill's story is one that I am honored to tell. And I hope that after reading my article, you will share what you have learned so that Bill's story, and the stories of so many others like him, will never be forgotten.